Those who leave the building pursuant to this order will have less to answer for than those who do not.
Where's the SS? I don't see them anymore!
And they managed to kind of push them all together, and they were all sitting on the floor. As they pushed them all together and got them so they could hardly move, they would hit. They had something in their hands.
Oh, I was just there. These people, they don't say they line up and they rush. You think that's look, if you can't run fast enough, they throw you. Watch it. Okay, get back. Bring them into the door. Hey, you got doctors in the door. Bring them into the door. There's a doctor in the door.
Peter, there's a doctor in the door.
There's a doctor in the door back. These guys are animals. They're animals. They don't wear uniforms. They attack you from behind. They think they talk to you 1 minute and they hit you the next.
Along the staircase, there was a solid line of police. The people in front of me were dragged down, and as they were dragged down, each individual cop standing on this line put his licks in, and they were laughing. I'll never forget it.
There seemed to have been orders given to this because I saw it so often during the demonstration.
Well, I dropped my glasses when I was running. I asked a cop officer, could I please go back? And he whacked me in the fucking face. Wait, not so fast. I was hit with a club on the head. I was punched in the nose.
I found a student who was dazed, bleeding profusely from the forehead. The police refused to let me pass. I said, this man is wounded, he needs help. They said, get out. Police had formed two lines which you had to run through, being pummeled all the time. He was very fortunate in that he wasn't kicked in the groin as most of the demonstrators were. Instead, he just had his legs kicked and his back punched. However, at the end of the line, he was hit with a blackjack, at which point he was unconscious. The next thing that he remembers was that he was in the first aid station.
We want peace! We want peace! We want peace! We want peace! We have nothing against the cops. We have it against Kirk. We realize the problem. Get pictures and get the reporters. We have a specific issue. The faculty stood with us, the students stood outside, and the strikers stood there. We will admit we are guilty. We wish to be charged. I want this all down. We will give names. We will give anything. Is there no sanity? Where was Auschwitz? Is there no thinking here? Will people not realize this insanity? Cops do not belong on campus. I am guilty. I wish to be arrested. Let's go!
Two vans have already pulled away. Now they're moving in another one.
And I'm not going to read this many reasons. I'd like to know what I'm arrested.
They got over 700 of us on charges of criminal trespass, resisting arrest, all kinds of other shit, some of which was real and some of which was completely fake.
I know of nurses and doctors that pleaded with the police not to proceed, to please let these men alone. And they would say, no, that's get away, this is our job.
I was arrested. They would not allow me to see a doctor. I had broken ribs, my face was cut, I got hit with a pistol under the eye, and I was bleeding there, and I wasn't allowed to see a doctor until I got out of court, which was approximately 10 hours later.
If I was awarded a fellowship for next year, what the hell does, I'm sorry, or what does it mean? I'm going to strike. I hope I don't see how any teacher, I don't see how any student can attend this school anymore. And
I was completely liberal about the whole thing, but this bus has radicalized everybody, and me very personally.
No, I was a non-violent student. I was completely passive. I didn't care what happened. I was completely neutral. I'm not neutral any longer. I'll occupy buildings tomorrow.
According to 6 written affidavits compiled by Professor of Mathematics Serge Lang, much looting and destruction occurred inside mathematics between 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. During these hours, The only people permitted inside the building were policemen, members of the press, and a very small group of building staff. When I got out of jail and got back to math, I looked around for my camera and my light meter that I left behind. All I found was a lot of exposed film, broken lenses. Who the fuck else would have done it but the cops?
It's interesting to note that Arthur Hayes Sulzberger, one of the trustees, just happens to be the chairman of the board of the New York Times. And one wonders why certain things were distorted in the Times coverage of the strike. Other things that appeared in the evening edition changed in the morning edition. And I think the answer is clear enough.
Double identification.
I mean, take a look. What is this, a goddamn police state? They got cops all over the campus. Every entrance, the gates are locked. You got to show 2 cards to get in. What is this, France?
Double identification, please. Double identification, please. I didn't know. I'll tell you about it. Double identification, please. Okay.
Head. Final. Study. Get ahead. Work. Prosper. Get ahead. Grade. Final. Get ahead. Study. Get ahead. Job. Get ahead. Get ahead. Get ahead. Papers. Police. Forward. Forward. March forward. Private property. Private property. Private property. We shall not be moved like a tree.
No contact.
We shall not be. What is this? Strike! 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 Decisions that affect our lives. We call on all students, faculty, staff, and workers of the university to support our strike. We ask that all students and faculty not meet or have classes inside buildings. We have taken the power away from an irresponsible and illegitimate administration. We have taken power away from a board of self-perpetuating businessmen who call themselves trustees of this university. We are demanding an end to the construction of the gymnasium being built against the will of the people of the community of Harlem. A decision that was made unilaterally by powers of the university without consultation of people whose lives it affects. We are no longer asking, but demanding an end to all affiliation and ties with the Institute for Defense Analysis, a Defense Department venture that collaborates the university into studies of kill and overkill that has resulted in the slaughter and maiming of thousands of Vietnamese and Americans. We are no longer asking, we are demanding that students and faculty have a say in the policies of the university.
We find our lives being governed by men who do not understand the problems of the day. It has become increasingly clear that they don't even understand the elements and the ingredients of the creative discord that begins to show up in the West today. What they are able to do, if given their reign, is to create a world order which in every one of its aspects depends absolutely on the power of the police to maintain it. They have no other power. when you have understood the uniform and the badge and the coercive violence of the Billy Club, napalm, and atomic bombs, then you have understood absolutely the sole legacy of those like Jason Kirk who pretend to authority in our world. It is this generation coming to its maturity behind, and I suspect one day beyond, the tumbled barricades in New York and in Oakland and in Florence, in Rome and in Paris and in London, which is about to shape the future.
Southfield, a game called Trustees. See how with dice and a checkerboard, decisions have been made in this university. Then go around and see liberation classes. See how the university should be run, is going to be run, and will continue to be run without the auspices and the power of the administration.
Liberation classes have been set up at this university. The purpose of the new classes is to establish a free, open, democratic, and meaningful discourse between faculty and students. They have put an end to the old system and structure of Columbia University. Classes are being held on lawns, on campus, in Ferris Booth Hall, and in apartments of faculty outside of campus.
Students were saying three major things. First, they were saying that they refused to be produced any longer, to be sent out into society as some kind of a managerial class. Second, they were saying to the faculty that they could no longer accept the paternalistic role that teachers traditionally play in the university. Learning takes place in dialogue and between equal men. They said, in effect, we will no longer let you play some kind of big daddy to us. Third, they were saying that the demands and actions had to be taken seriously, could not be dismissed with some kind of bullshit platitudes about youth and idealism, because they were involved in political action on the highest level of human seriousness.
Tonight, there is a new liberated area in this neighborhood. We're going to support those 50 community members that have taken over a building. Presently in the buildings, there are 40 to 50 representatives of community groups, of political clubs, of organizations involved in the Morningside Renewal Council, organizations that have been fighting Columbia's expansion policies for years. This is not a student occupancy.
Students right now are the vanguard, but it's the masses of people in the area in New York around Columbia that's finally going to stop Columbia.
Well, sometimes there seems to be a kind of contradiction between support action and fighting your own particular kind of oppression, which is what we're always talking about. But in fact, what we came to see during the strike was that
when you want to oppose an institution of that sort,
you've got to fight. Fronts,
you've got to fight on all fronts.
Right.
Columbia has closed our streets, gobbled up our parkland, seized over 100 of our buildings, and forced the removal of over 8,000 people from their homes. Why is the Community Action Committee predominantly white? Of the 8,000 tenants of small hotels, SROs, and old law tenements whom Columbia has systematically displaced, only a specially selected token number of minority group families now reside in Morningside Heights. We deplore this deliberate creation of a white ghetto. Hey!
We don't want to be arrested.
I'm under arrest. Right now, I am. Okay, pick your own wagon. Pick your own wagon.
If you wish to be arrested, you may leave. You're free to leave.
I don't want to be arrested.
None of us want to be arrested.
Either go to the wagon or walk towards Riverside Drive if you don't want to be arrested. Riverside Drive with a wagon. I'm in front if you want to be arrested. Riverside Drive with a wagon. You want to have a decent life.
In order to show the solidarity of people with 6 strike leaders who they tried to suspend, they decided to take Hamilton once again.
Cleared out within the next 10 minutes.
I'm asking how many of you here are willing now to stay with me, sit in here until...
After 3 votes, the majority decided to stay.
Inform you that we have no alternative but to call the police. Any student who is arrested will be immediately suspended.
A lot of the most militant people had left Hamilton because they didn't want to get busted a second time. But those were the people who formed the core of the stuff that was going around outside, building barricades and fighting the cops.
A moving line of detectives into the crowd. The crowd surrounded by the police.
People realized that by this time that it wasn't just enough to build up barricades because the cops could break them down. So they engaged in combat with them. They threw lamps at them. They charged them with bricks. They built up barricades.
start over again?
Take one. Second. All right. Wait, I will give you
Give it to me again.
With reverberation.
Modern university is the cradle of the nation's future. It has been called the chief energizing and creative force in our entire social system.
Here we are at Columbia University, Morningside Heights, and Amsterdam Avenue and 116th Street. For the first time in the history of Columbia University, there will be two graduations in Morningside Heights. The one we're looking at now is the official ceremony, acknowledged by the trustees and attended by the faculty and administration. At a given signal from the students, almost the entire graduating class is expected to leave this ceremony and protest over its legitimacy, and to hold their own graduation as a repudiation of the trustees. They expect to be joined by a few members of the faculty.